welcome to the Fan of History. I am the Fan of History, and today I'm going to talk about the 950s BC. I am just a fan of history, and this is one of the decade reports from the 10th century BC. The sources are scarce. We don't know a lot about this period. Chronology is contested. Before you watch this, watch the great civilizations of the world in 1000 BC and the events of the 960s BC. So what happened in the 950s BC? Well, what did happen in the 950s BC? There's almost no documentation from the whole world about this period. I found one piece of data that could actually be dated to the 950s BC. So I will make this episode a bit different. We'll talk about inventions, we'll talk a bit about legend that I usually try to avoid. This will be somewhat different. It will be longer and softer in a sense than other episodes. So what do you think of it? We are still early in this show. I will make a lot of episodes, but this is just the sixth one. I need your feedback. What do you like from the show? What do you not like? What changes do you want to make? Let me know. Okay, let's get into the world of 950s BC. Susennes II is the Pharaoh of Egypt. And you remember this guy from last episode? He might be the high priest Susennes III of Amun in Thebes. And he's the last ruler of the 21st dynasty. And in the next episode, the 21st dynasty will end. And you will get to know Shoshenq. So what's happening in Europe? Well, here is the one dated event I could find. Chrysippus, the king of Athens, or the archon of Athens then. Yeah, the archon is not the king, he's an archon. What's the difference? Still don't know. He reigned for 41 years and is succeeded by his son Phorbas. It seems that Athens survived the Dorian invasion and the Greek Dark Age and is still a Achaean. They also have a lot of Iron Age stuff at this point. We'll talk more about Athens when Greek comes out of the Dark Age, but they're still in the Dark Age, and most of Greece is non-literate. And we know very, very little about what happened in Greece. Assyria. Tiglath-Pileser II is the king of Assyria. He will rule until 935 BC. The tribes next to Assyria are keeping them occupied. There are no civilizations close to Assyria except Babylonia. Babylonia is also occupied with the tribes. But in 40 years, the doomsday clock will strike and the Neo-Assyrian Empire will rise under the rule of Adad-Nirari II, and things will go down. In India, Kuru is a strong state in the north, and I had an interesting discussion about why Hinduism is the first of the world religions on the stage, because Judaism is not really around in the sense you would consider it today. We'll talk more about that in the 9th century. But Hinduism is in a very early Vedic version. It's called the Vedic religion, not Hinduism. But I might talk about that in a special religion show that I may or may not do. But if you want to learn more about Hinduism at this early stage, I'll give you a link to the discussions from the Historum forums. The Olmecs. Every episode I tell you, we don't know anything about the Olmecs, but we do know something. And it can roughly be dated to the 950s BC. So we're going to talk about the Olmecs! For the first time almost. This is the Olmec heartland. And there is a destruction layer in the 950s BC, somewhat around there. Could it be an invasion or a rebellion? Maybe. San Lorenzo here is the most important site, but the focus will shift to La Venta. And it's pretty clear why this is the most important site, because this is a great place to have a city. An agricultural site, it has no walls, it's ceremonial in a sense, and it's hard to defend. La Venta is in a swamp and much easier to defend. And in some years, very close to 950 BC, the focus of the Olmec culture will move to La Venta. At its peak, researchers think that San Lorenzo had 5,500 inhabitants, making it the biggest and not the only, but the biggest city in the Americas at this time. San Lorenzo had a lot of problems. There has been warfare, there is destruction. There is destruction that people caused in San Lorenzo. There is a lot of environmental change at this time. The economic decline seems apparent. The city is not as rich as it was just 100 years before. Rival centers start to emerge, such as La Venta, but there are also several others. And the river next to San Lorenzo changes its course around this time. But still, San Lorenzo survives and is still occupied after the 950s BC. But San Lorenzo is reaching the end of its period of greatness as the capital or the largest city of the Olmecs. So, let's talk about King Mu of the Zhou dynasty in China. Remember this guy? He's more ambitious than wise, and he has already done some stuff, fought some wars. And this is the Western Zhou dynasty at its height. He might be the greatest emperor of the Zhou dynasty. The Zhou dynasty lasts forever. It goes on for a long time. And in the twilight years, they become to make King Mu especially into legend. So there are some weird tales about him from the late Zhou period, which is in the 3rd and 4th century BC. So he becomes like a superhero for the late Zhou. There are several weird legends about King Mu. But one thing we know is that he liked to travel to the Kunlun Mountains. These are the Kunlun Mountains, so the foothills of the Himalayas. And in one of the legends we know of him, it's the Mu Tianzi Zuan, a 4th century BC romance that describes Mu's travel, together with a brave charioteer named Cao Fao, who carries the king to his destination. And there strange things happened, but the legend still pales to the time when King Mu actually met a robot. And I'm going to tell you that legend, but first we're going to talk about music. That was random, wasn't it? Music. King Mu enjoyed music, and there's actually no music that is earlier than this and has been preserved that I found. So actually music, songs, lyrics, notes is a very late phenomenon that does not exist at the time. And if it exists in China. The Tang dynasty, that is 1,700 years later, claims to have notes that originate from the time of King Mu. But given that King Mu is a legend, this might not be true. So this is very controversial. And the oldest recorded song that we actually know is from 500 BC by Confucius himself. Confucius? Yeah. But we will now listen to the entrance hymn for the emperor from 1000 BC. And here we are. Maybe the latest music, the earliest. enough of that, but that's very early music. There are some earlier musical fragments from cuneiform in Mesopotamia for 1400 BC, but this piece is the first complete one. So now we're going to talk about a robot. You did not expect a robot in 3000 years ago, but there is this very, very weird legend. And let me tell you about Yanxi. Yanxi was an artificer. He was an inventor. He made stuff. He was a mechanical engineer. And he gets an audience with King Mu. And then he's going to show him a robot, a life-sized human-shaped figure who was entirely mechanical. And I am relating the text of the Lesi from the 3rd century BC. The king stared at the figure in astonishment. It walked with rapid strides, moving its head up and down, so that anyone would have taken it for a live human being. The artificer touched its chin, and it began singing, perfectly in tune. He touched its hand, and it began posturing, keeping perfect time. As the performance was drawing to an end, the robot winked its eye and made advances to the ladies in attendance, whereupon the king became incensed and would have had Yanxi executed on the spot, had not the latter, in mortal fear, instantly taken the robot to pieces to let the king see what it really was. And indeed, it turned out to be only a construction of leather, wood, adhesive, and lacquer, variously colored white, black, red, and blue. Examining it closely, the king found all internal organs complete: liver, gall, heart, lungs, spleen, kidneys, stomach, and intestines, and over those again muscles, bone, and limbs, with their joints, skin, teeth, and hair, all of them artificial. The king tried the effect of taking away the heart and found that the mouth could no longer speak. He took away the liver, and the eyes could no longer see. He took away the kidneys, and the legs lost their power of locomotion. The king was delighted. Okay, so King Mu liked the robot until the robot started hitting on the ladies of the court, and then King Mu got angry. This is so weird. I don't think it really happened, but why tell a story like this about this ancient king of China? Yeah, just wanted to tell you about it. Let's go on. China invents some stuff around this period. The dictionary is created in China, and the flying kite, as shown on this picture. There are actually some other interesting inventions from this era. So let me talk about them. In Peru and Brazil, we start to cultivate peanuts. And this is probably significant because it is one of the reasons why a great culture arises in Peru in 930s BC. So the Olmecs won't be alone in America for very long. Ice skates is invented in this period. I did not expect that. They also invent knitting and the magnet. So my next episode will be events of the 940s BC. The release date is April the 1st of 2014. I'm doing these decade reports on a weekly basis. And if I can't contain myself, I'm going to do other episodes about some specific subject of the 10th century BC. Check out the laws of the 10th century BC. That's on this channel. You can discuss the show with me here on YouTube. I try to reply to every comment, or at least read them. You can also talk to me on Facebook. There is a Twitter account. Please, please subscribe, like, and share my stuff because it helps to keep me going. I have promised to go on to 800 BC, but after that I will have to make a decision based on what you guys want and what do you think of the show. And please, please, please give me feedback and help me improve it. Thank you for watching.